I need to wait till the... Usually, are we ready? Are we live? We're good. Okay. Good evening. I'm Susan Drummond, City of Pasco, hearing examiner. Tonight is Wednesday evening, about 6 p.m., January 8th, 2020. We have 5 items on the agenda. The first 2 items, A and B, one is for the special permit for the Pasco Haven Low Barrier Housing Proposal. The second is a preliminary plat for Habitat Cedar Avenue. And those 2 are continuances from December, but the other 3 are new proposals. I wanted to get a sense of how many people are here for the Pasco Haven Low Barrier Housing, this is the affordable housing proposal. Okay, it looks like most of you. I think that matter will probably take the longest given the amount of public testimony that will be on it. I think the 2 preliminary plats, the rezone, based upon my review of the record, probably will not take that long. So I'm considering hearing those first and then moving to the special permit. Is the applicant for the variance here? This is the signed variance. If you could about how long do you anticipate for your proposal? If you could step forward to the microphone so we can capture that. And this is purely for determining order of procedure.
Sure. 5-10 minutes.
Okay, so why don't we hear that? I think it would make sense to go B through E and then hear the Pasco Haven Low Barrier Housing Proposal first. Did staff have any comments on doing it that? Okay, I think that's how we'll do it then. So,
thank you.
You can go ahead and sit down. So the order of procedure for all 5 of these matters will be as follows. We'll hear from the planning department first. They'll provide a summary of the proposal. Then the applicant for each of the proposals will have an opportunity to present. And then we'll open the matter up for public comment. Anyone who is here who wishes to testify on the proposal before me may do so, and the applicant will then have an opportunity to address concerns which arise. I may have questions throughout. Planning department may have clarification questions. So earlier I mentioned that 2 of the items are continuances from December. There was a hearing on Wednesday, December 11th, 6 p.m. Of last year for both the Pasco Haven Low Barrier Housing Proposal and the Habitat Cedar Avenue preliminary plat. There was testimony received on that Pasco Haven Low Barrier Housing Proposal. I was not here. The planning department, what had happened is that there was an error on notice, and that mailed notice had not gone out to surrounding residents. That error was since fixed, and the matter was continued to allow for that notice to happen. But because people had shown up for the hearing in December, planning department decided that it would be best to take testimony and allow people who had shown up to go ahead and testify. And I do, by the way, they videotaped the testimony, which I have reviewed. I also have a transcript of that testimony as well. So any of the people who testified, and I've reviewed that, any of the people who testified at that hearing may testify tonight as well if they wish to do so. And then, of course, anyone else who is here and wishes to testify on the proposal may do so as well. Are there any questions on that? It's a little unusual, but the error on the notice had to be fixed, and that was the most efficient way to address that. Okay. And that's true for both the Pasco Low Barrier Housing Proposal and the Habitat Cedar Avenue Proposal, but there was no comment on the preliminary plat. Okay, so with that, why don't we go ahead and hear the Habitat Cedar Avenue preliminary plat proposal. This is PP 2019-005. I have reviewed the staff report and attachments on that. I did a site visit this afternoon on this proposal, as well as the other 4 proposals which are before me, so I'm familiar with the area and what is being proposed.
Thank you, Madam Examiner. This is a pretty standard issue plat, with the exception of a shared frontage layout, which means that lots 1, 3, 5, 8, and 10 are being accessed from 3 dedicated 20-foot access and utility easements. This is a almost 2-acre site, 11 lots. The average lot size is 7,565 square feet. And this is allowed in the minimum lot size there is 7,200 square feet. Did I say 75,000? 7,500. 7,500 square feet average. Other than that, there's really nothing really unusual about this plat. Any questions from the examiner?
No, I do not have questions at this point. Is the applicant here? Oh, yeah. If you could step forward briefly. Good evening. If you could state your name for the record.
Doug Hamrick, Habitat for Humanity board member.
And you swear to tell the truth under penalty of perjury under the laws of the state of Washington?
I do.
Thank you. Do you have anything that you wanted to add to the staff report?
No, this is just to make as many lots available. The land was very deep. We previously had built on the south end of this plat, and once the shared driveway ordinance was changed, we wanted to take advantage of that.
Okay. And have you had an opportunity to review the staff report?
Yes.
And you're comfortable with everything that's in there and the
it's
condition,
accurate.
proposed conditions and all of that? And if you could, I don't know if I have could you spell your last name just for the record?
Hamrick.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Unless you have anything else. I think I hear a phone in the back. It looks like, and there we go. All right, so at this point, we'll open this up for public comment. Is there anyone here who wishes to testify on this proposal? Let the record reflect that there is not anyone here who wishes to testify on this proposal. So a decision on this will be out within 10 business days. That will be forwarded to the planning department. The planning department will then forward it on to all parties of record, including the applicant, anyone who requests a copy of that. Are there any other questions on that? Okay, so we will now move to, I believe it's item C on the agenda. This is the second preliminary plat that we're hearing this evening. This is the Joel's Edition preliminary plat, PP 2019-006. If I could have the planning department briefly address the proposal. And as with the other proposal, I've reviewed the staff report and visited the site this afternoon.
Thank you, Madam Examiner. This is another preliminary plat located on Road 56 in West Sylvester in West Pasco. Again, utilizing these shared frontages, the applicant did provide additional lot layouts in advance to identify the usage of the shared frontages. In this case, staff was okay with the lot layout as planned. So the applicant is here and did inform us this morning of possible revisions to or questions on the proposed conditions of approval, specifically conditions 4, 5, and 7, which we will provide to you after the meeting, and the applicant is here as well.
Okay. Were those the proposed revisions were provided in writing then?
Yes, an email.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and admit that into the record then. And if you don't have an extra copy here tonight, you can forward it to me after the hearing.
Okay.
All right, is the applicant here? If you could step forward.
Evening.
Good evening. If you could state your name for the record.
Caleb Stromstad.
And you swear to tell the truth under penalty of perjury under the laws of the state of Washington?
Yes.
Thank you. Do you have anything to add? Well, I guess there's some clarification. It sounded like there was a question on that you all had on the proposed conditions on 2 of them.
Correct, and I can provide you this written copy after.
Okay, yeah. If you have it,
I have a single copy.
Oh, okay.
So what I'd like to do is just read it.
Okay.
Just that for the high points and for clarification purposes. So specifically on condition number 4, I request that it be revised to include and Franklin County Irrigation District. And the reason being is I believe the intent was to require dry utilities to move. Franklin County Irrigation District has irrigation mains throughout the city right away. And I did talk with John Burns. He's the district manager for Franklin County Irrigation District, and he was in agreement with this change.
Okay.
Condition number 5, that's more of a technicality. You can just review that. I ran it by the city engineer. I think he's in agreement with me.
It's a procedural.
It's a procedural deal dealing with the new construction standards.
Okay. All right. Well, can I take a brief look at that? And the planning department did not have any objection to the proposed revisions.
And Mr. Trump said, don't you have another proposed revision to condition number 7?
Condition number 7, correct. That one was, we just requested that one be removed in its entirety. Condition number 7, from memory, is requiring an archaeological study. The letter we received from the state archaeology department recommended the study. And we're okay with the recommendation. The developer understands the risk associated.
Okay, so
proceeding
it sounds like
without
the
it.
staff planning department had not seen the revision on 7. That sounds like a new one, so,
No,
So-
they got the whole email. I just didn't mention it before giving you that paper.
okay. All right. Okay, and were there anything else other than what's in this?
Nope,
this
just
email
here
letter?
if there's
Okay.
any further questions I can clarify.
Okay, I do not have further questions. I'll need to take a closer look at the revisions, but,
Okay.
yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. Does the planning department have any concerns with the proposed revisions? I'll need to make sure you have the same email transmittal that I have, but this is conditions 4, 5, and 7.
Correct.
Okay. I'll keep the record open, I think, on this, just for another, today's Wednesday, so through close of business Friday, 5 p.m. And then that way, planning department, you can review the exhibit, make sure it's consistent with your understanding, and then provide any comments on that. I think that would be the best way to address that.
Okay.
Okay. Is there, at this point, we'll open this matter up for public comment. Is there anyone here who wished to testify on this proposal? Let the record reflect that there is not anyone here who wishes to testify on this proposal. So the record on this will be kept open through 5 p.m. on Friday, primarily to address the question on the proposed revisions to the 3 conditions, but any comment from the public may be submitted as well, or from the applicant on this proposal through close of business on Friday, and that should go to the planning department, and then the planning department will forward any comments on to me. And then a decision on this will be out within 10 business days of this Friday. So any questions any procedural questions? Okay, so we will move to item D, which is the Henne rezone proposal for one parcel from C1 to RS12. And if I have reviewed the staff report on that, viewed the site this afternoon. If the planning department could provide a brief summary. It looked fairly straightforward. Well, actually, there is actually one question I've got on that regarding the comp plan consistency question, so.
Right. And, okay, summary. This was annexed into the city about 35 years ago. It was zoned C1 at the time of annexation. The applicant was not aware of the annexation or the zoning determination at the time. And the time that has elapsed has allowed her to live there for 35 years. And now that she wants to sell the property, she can't get banks to loan against it because it is zoned commercial and there's no rebuild provision if it were to be destroyed. As you can see on the comprehensive plan map, the site is right on the border of commercial and low density residential, and so there's kind of a fudge factor there as to whether it can go either way, really. That would be the next slide. There you go. That's the comp plan map. You can see that the property that's just north of the borderline between those 2 comprehensive plan designations. Any questions?
Yeah, just on the comp plan designation question, the criteria makes sense in terms of the location for the house. It's been an existing use, it's been there for a long time.
Right.
But the catch is dealing with the CP designation. And typically, the city would do those once every year, but in emergency circumstances, and it seems to me there are some facts here that would support a determination on that front, the city could do it out of order. So one way to approach this, and I need to hear public comment from the applicant as well, but one way to approach this might be to conditionally grant it, subject to the comp plan amendment. It seems to me that would be should be a relatively simple process if it's perhaps treated in that fashion. Does the department have any comment on utilizing that type of approach on this?
There is some urgency on the part of the owner because of some refinancing reasons, and maybe a bit of further explanation. You can see how the comprehensive plan designation in some cases follows the property lines, as it does at least in this location, and then in others it bends a bit and is subject to at least in theory, a much greater amount of discretion. My recommendation from, I think, a staff perspective would be to recommend the outright consideration of the zoning change, and then this would be docketed for, it's a one lot situation, so we could docket this for a land use change with our existing cyclical amendment. It's not going to affect our land capacity analysis, and it's not going to affect our environmental impact statement that the city is currently preparing.
Okay, so it would be granted perhaps with what you're thinking is granted perhaps with the condition of doing
yes.
that, the usual docketing process and all
Yes.
that. When's the deadline on that for the next round?
If we're looking for the next round, it would be docketing in summer of 2020.
Okay.
However, given the minor nature of this proposal, we would incorporate that into our current process, which we're
So
maybe
that can happen pretty quickly then?
right now. Even.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay. And yeah, it does seem like perhaps it's just a small property and it's right on the edge there. Is the applicant here? Yes, if you could step forward. Good evening. If you could state your name for the record,
Dana Henney?
and you swear to tell the truth under penalty of perjury and the laws of the state of Washington.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Is there anything that you wanted to add to the planning department's summary of the proposal or my questions on that?
Well, I did have some of the people that were in the neighborhood, and one came with me
And you can
tonight.
put your hand down, it's your, if you wish.
And he is also against the commercial, and he wants it to come back to residential. I'm ready for a sale. I'm hoping that we'll sell. So I didn't know if you wanted to hear from him or, and I have another one that was right next door, and he really doesn't want it commercial either. So,
Well, I'll open it up for public comment after, and if any of those individuals wish to testify, they may do so, unless you wanted to have them come up to explain the proposal further.
no, I was just wondering if you needed them because they were against it.
Oh, they opposed it to me.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, they can provide testimony during the public comment section if they wish to do so. Then.
Okay.
So, and it sounds like, just to confirm, it sounds like there's some urgency on this.
Pardon?
There's some urgency on this because it sounded like I reviewed some of the material in the record. And
Yes,
it
it was. The property itself was up for sale. I had no idea that it had went commercial, and it was up for sale, and I lost my sale for $217,500. So I'm really upset and was really sick about it. So right now, I'm just got it sitting there, and we went ahead and bought another piece of property and also had a loan put out on the property where the bank never even caught it. So I'm between houses right now, and I'm paying on both. So I need it. There is an urgency to get rid of the property as soon as I can possibly get rid of it.
Okay. And it sounds like you've been in the house for the house has been there for what, 35 years or a long period of time.
Well, it's been longer than that because
okay.
we bought the property in 1977.
Okay.
So, and it was there before.
Okay.
So I don't know how many years before it had been, was put there or
Okay.
was there.
Okay.
Okay.
Built in 1930.
Oh, built in 1930. Okay. Thank you. So at this point, we'll open this up for public comment. Is there anyone here from the public who wish to testify on this proposal? Good evening. If you could state your name for the record,
Sure, Chuck Lurkins.
and you swear to tell the truth under penalty of perjury under the laws of the state of
do.
Washington? Thank you. Could you spell your last name?
Sure, Luerkens.
I'm sorry, slow down.
Luerkens.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, I've lived there for 40-some years, and we have a church right across from us. I'm on Road 38 in Brown. And to have a commercial entity in there at all, at where Dana's property is at, parking's ridiculous right now. And to have something like that would just aggravate that even more.
So what you're saying is the current use, what's been in there for some
Right.
time, is compatible and
It is very
absolutely
compatible,
compatible with the surrounding uses?
Yeah.
Okay, and there might be parking issues as well. Okay,
Okay, that's it.
thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here who wishes to testify on this proposal? Nope, okay. So, as with the other proposals, I will be issuing a decision on this within 10 business days. Are there any procedural, I'm sorry, this is a rezone, so it's a recommendation, goes to the city council. So let me just clarify that. This is a recommendation rather than a final decision. City council makes the final decision on this. Ms. Wright, anything further on? Nope. Okay. Okay, so with that, I think we'll move to the variance, which is item E on the proposal. And again, as with the others, I've reviewed the staff report and visited the site this afternoon. So I didn't know who from staff is presenting today.
Thank you, Madam Examiner. The applicant is requesting a height variance to be granted to allow a 50-foot tall pole sign for the Flying J truck stop, and that address is 2216 East Hillsborough Road. The zoning of which is C3, which is general business. And in this zone, Pasco's sign code allows for pole signs of up to 35 feet in height, except when the sign has freeway frontage or is within 250 feet from that freeway. In such a case, the sign code allows for pole signs to go up to 70 feet in height. This sign, though, does not have freeway frontage, and it's approximately 490 feet from US 395, which is located to the west. The applicant applied for a building permit in October of just this last year, and it included the pouring of a new foundation, a new pole, and a cabinet of 180 square feet. The sign isn't unlike some of the signs in the vicinity, since the nearby Subway and a Burger King also have 50-foot tall pole signs, as you can see in the pictures. Those signs, however, were permitted before the adoption of our most recent sign code, which was 2006. So those existing signs are non-conforming based on their height. The applicant argues that without having the 50-foot tall sign, you can't see the sign from US 395, and this would ultimately affect their business. I also should note that there was a previous 50-foot tall sign in that exact spot, but it was taken down. I'm not sure how long ago. As far as staff can tell, there aren't unique circumstances applicable to the property, so it's difficult to tell the degree to which the problem should be alleviated. The sign may look conspicuous if in the future the signs in the vicinity are taken down and replaced with conforming signs that are 35 feet tall. Any questions?
I do not have any questions at this time. Is the applicant here? Yes, if you could step forward. If you could state your name for the record,
Brent Smith?
and you swear to tell the truth under penalty of perjury under the laws of the state of Washington?
Yes.
Thank you.
Little history on the actual sign. It was originally installed about 30 years ago, right on the the east property line next to the truck wash. And they had a
a gentleman's agreement because the steel structure for that was actually on that truck wash's property. And Flying J got an agreement to put the sign up on that existing structure. The property recently sold, and the new owner wanted to use that structure, so we took the sign down, and it's in our yard in Kennewick currently, and we applied to put it back up on the, would be the northwest corner of the property. They plan on building a new C-store and Conoco gas station.
When was the sign taken down?
September
Of last year?
of this, yes, of the past year. So it's the same sign that was there, and we want to put it back to the same height. And I believe that the owner of the truck wash has a permit to put a new sign up.
You mean for their truck
On their,
wash?
on
or-
that on the old structure, yes.
Okay, and so the sign, the proposal is to move the sign how far from its original location?
It's on
And if you're
that
gonna
property.
point to that, there's a.
Yeah, you see the diagonals over to the far left? Yeah, from there over the
If you use the
west,
mouse,
correct.
they
Right there, I'm sorry.
told
yeah.
me to make sure everyone uses the mouse
Yeah.
up there rather than, so that,
Okay.
yeah.
This is the new location. This is, in fact, that's the old sign, right? If I can get the mouse to move that far. Right. Oops. Well, here you go. Now where'd they go? I'm gonna go get me a trap for that mouse. Oh, there. Right there. That's this picture's old enough that was the sign. And you can see it's right on the property line.
So the sign was on the property line or the other property?
On the truck wash property
On the
line.
truck wash
Yeah.
property, but right at the corner?
Right.
Okay.
So we proposed to put it right there.
So on the opposite corner,
Yes.
on the same parallel, but
And
opposite
if you,
corner?
the Burger King sign is just across the street. It's 50 feet. The Subway sign is 50 feet. This sign, when they put it up, will be 50 feet.
Okay.
And we're, yeah,
And is it the same sign or new construction
Same
sign? Or
sign.
same, exact, okay,
we're retrofitting it to LEDs, so low power
okay,
consumption.
okay. And it looks like there's nothing unusual about, I mean, the property looks like it's fairly similarly situated to other properties in the surrounding area, is that, okay?
Yeah, nothing, they'll actually, there was quite an old building there, old dilapidated. They tore that all down. There'll be a brand new C-store, really a nice looking.
And so, and just to clarify, the reason it came down is because there wasn't a written agreement with the party who owns the site.
Correct.
The property owner. And is there a written agreement now, or how is
No, it's his. The support steel was always his.
the supporting steel for the sign?
Yeah.
Okay,
And since we've taken that sign down in September, they're down 25% in their total gallonage per month. It's a big factor.
okay, so, but and I'm sorry, just to clarify, there's not a written agreement at this time, or there?
No.
No, there's still not a written agreement?
No.
Okay.
They parted ways, basically.
Okay, so, so just to clarify, you own the sign, but not the property?
Correct.
Correct, okay.
The franchise Flying J owns the sign.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. And you don't have a written agreement with the underlying property owner?
No.
No. Okay. All right. I think that's all for my questions right now,
Okay.
unless you have anything else.
Nope.
Okay,
The owner of the Flying J might want to say a few words.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So at this point, we'll open this up for public comment. Is there anyone here who wishes to provide testimony on this proposal? Yes.
I have a mousetrap.
Good
Hi,
evening.
Dan Alsacker.
And you swear to tell the truth under penalty of perjury of the laws of the state of
I-
Washington?
I do, thank you.
Thank you. And could you spell your last name?
A-L-S like in Sam, A-K-E-R.
Okay, thank you.
I think I just wanted to correct a little bit of what was said so
Okay.
that we understand, or I understand what you understand, if
Okay,
that's
yeah,
okay
that would be
with you.
helpful.
And I am too having trouble with the mouse. Let's talk about where the sign is going to go. The sign that I own and the property is mine as well.
Okay,
So I think you were asking the question of the property underneath the sign, who owns that?
correct. Yeah, so if I could clarify who owns the property underneath the site, who owns the sign, yeah, that'd be helpful.
I own the sign
Okay,
and I own the property
Okay.
underneath the sign.
okay,
That's
that
right.
helps.
Yeah. That's all I wanted to say. Anything else? Any questions?
No, so then I guess what was in the back and forth, there was a question about, there was no agreement. So then why did that sign have to be taken down? If you own both the property and the sign, that's a little unclear.
Okay, where the sign was
Mm-hmm.
on the truck wash property.
Okay, so it's the other, okay, so it was there's adjacent property, so it was actually on their property.
Correct.
And then they've asked that there was no written agreement, they've asked that it be moved, okay.
Correct.
All right, that set of facts makes a lot more sense.
All right.
All right, that's all I have.
All right, that's all I had too. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to testify on the proposal? Let the record reflect that there is not anyone else who wishes to testify on this proposal. Does the planning department have any clarification on that? It sounds like I've got the facts right. I've got them clarified in terms of where the sign was originally, where they would like to move it, and the factual background on that. Is there any clarification that is needed on that? Did I
don't think we have anything else to add.
Okay. All right. So I think I've got the facts straight. So a decision on this will be out within 10 business days. That will be forwarded to the planning department. Planning department then will forward that on to the applicant and anyone else who requests a copy of that. So I think we are moving on to the agenda that most of you in the audience have been waiting for, which is the Pasco Haven Low Barrier Housing Proposal. This is for a special permit, SP 2019-010. Thank you all for your patience on this. As mentioned, I visited the site this afternoon. I have reviewed the staff report. I should note there were a couple questions that came up. The applicant had asked the planning department about timing of the decision. I'm required to issue a decision within 10 business days of the close of the record. The applicant, as I understand it, needs a decision one way or the other by the 18th, and so had submitted an email to the planning department asking if it would be a problem for me to issue by the 18th, which is within 10 days, but not 10 business days. And I responded and said that, barring unforeseen circumstances, that would not be an issue with my schedule. And then I also had a question on the special permit process and its relationship to the code, because there's some deviations that are needed for this in terms of height. And possibly in terms of density, although the use is mentioned as potentially being authorized by special permit. So staff had submitted a response to that question. I had submitted it in advance because it was one I think that required some additional thought. And I'll go ahead and admit the written response to my question, admit that into the record. Are any procedural questions on anything so far? As I mentioned earlier, this was a continuation of the hearing from December, and I do have the transcripts from those who had testified on the proposal. That transcript is part of the record, includes testimony, I think, from Colin Hastings with the Pasco Chamber of Commerce, Orlando Rodriguez, Russell Blatt, and Janice Hastings. And if any of you are here tonight, you certainly may comment again this evening. Although I have reviewed the comment both on the video and in the transcript. So at this point, I think what we'll do, we'll let the planning department summarize the proposal, the applicant can present, and then we'll open this up for public comment as with all of the other proposals.
Thank you, Madam Examiner. Applicant Catholic Housing Service of Eastern Washington is proposing to build a 4-story, 52-unit multifamily permanent supportive housing project to serve the chronically homeless population. Typically, this includes those who have mental illness or substance abuse concerns, although it may include others. And they have a particularly hard time finding housing because of those limitations. And so this is a a very important component of the homeless rescue effort, I guess you'd call it. The site is a 2.25 acre lot. It's zoned R1A. And the proposal is to build office space for service providers on the ground floor, and then single occupancy residential units on the second floors and above. The height variance is part of the special permit request because the building is planned to be 55 feet tall. I spoke with Jonathan previous to this meeting, and he mentioned that they might be able to work with that if, worst case scenario, they couldn't get the variance, but they'd rather work within the footprint because of efficiencies and so forth. That's kind of a summary of what's being proposed. Any questions that you might have?
Okay. And at this time, I have some clarifying questions for the applicant, but I'll wait to raise those. Is the applicant here tonight? If you could step forward. If you could state your name for the record.
Jonathan Maleh?
And you swear to tell the truth under penalty of perjury under the laws of the state of Washington?
Yes.
Okay. If you could spell your last, actually, yes, if you could spell your last name.
Maleh,
Oh, okay.
Mallahan.
Yep. Thank you. Do you have anything that you wanted to add to the planning department's summary of the proposal? And I have reviewed the staff report and the attachments and then the supplemental information that they provided on the code interpretation.
I do have some brief remarks. I also have some additional facts we'd like to present and share with you for the record related to the height and the factors that we believe justify that height variance. So I'd hand that to you at for.
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you. I'll go ahead and admit this into the record.
So just very briefly, Catholic Charities' mission is to support the dignity of vulnerable individuals throughout the Spokane Diocese. We serve over 70,000 people each year through 14 different programs focused on fulfilling this mission. A requirement of human dignity is having a safe place to live. As such, Catholic Charities provides over 1,300 units of permanent housing for farm workers, seniors, families, and people who have experienced homelessness. The proposed facility is targeted to serve the most vulnerable in the community. The majority of residents will be people who have experienced chronic homelessness, meaning that they've been homeless for an extended period of time and they have a qualifying physical or mental disability. To effectively serve these individuals who often have long histories of trauma and crisis in their lives, we must provide more than an apartment. Catholic Charities' permanent supportive housing model relies on providing residents with on-site services ranging from peer support, case management, access to duly licensed behavioral health and substance abuse counselors, and much more. Catholic social teaching calls for us to serve the most vulnerable, and it also requires that we be good neighbors. To this end, we've taken care to ensure the design of the facility and operations are focused on resident well-being, as well as mitigating impacts on our neighbors. This is why Catholic Charities has committed to ongoing partnership with neighbors and stakeholders in the project. Earlier this week, we hosted a town hall meeting inviting the community to learn more about the project, ask questions, and share their support or concerns. Our partners at Greater Columbia Accountable Community of Health went door to door in the surrounding neighborhood and to businesses in downtown Pasco to advertise the event. As a result, we heard concerns about the impacts on the perception of Pasco's downtown, concerns that we should find ways to focus on serving people from Pasco, as well as support from healthcare providers, service providers, and other community members. We recognize these concerns and want to make sure we're being responsive to them. So in follow-up to that meeting, we've already made additional plans for actions we can take to be great neighbors. We'll provide and fund or partner to provide a coordinated outreach effort to people who are experiencing homelessness in Pasco. The impact of this will be to make sure that more Pasco citizens becoming residents of the facility over those in other parts of the Tri-City community. We'll adapt our resident transportation plan to provide personalized transportation services for residents to get to and from appointments, buy groceries, and to seek and fulfill employment opportunities. Further, we'll commit to ongoing work with the DPDA and other stakeholders to help change negative and unfounded perceptions of downtown Pasco. I want to respect the time of everyone here tonight, won't restate all the specific mitigations we built into the project. However, I will highlight some of our plans. We've designed greater setbacks to insulate neighboring properties, a perimeter fence to control access to and from the property, additional on-site amenities like a community garden and a basketball court. I should note those amenities will be guided by resident input, so we want to make sure the amenities are responsive to the residents' desires and needs. We have a state-of-the-art security monitoring system in this project and much more. Our operational plan also is designed to mitigate impacts on neighbors. We require residents to adhere to a good neighbor policy and treat any challenges involving residents within 2 miles of our facility as if they'd occurred in the building. That's a practice that's supported by the courts in Washington. Our visitor policies restrict the frequency and number of guests residents are allowed to host and require that visitors always be escorted on site. That helps us make sure we're controlling our property and not having unintended consequences from visitors. Further, we self-manage our properties, which means our property management and maintenance staff are trained in trauma-informed care and how to be responsive to neighborhood concerns. In fact, we incentivize our property managers to be engaged with their neighbors and lean into the community so that we're excellent neighbors. Catholic Charities is committed to serving the vulnerable. We're equally committed to being a responsible neighbor. I really appreciate the opportunity to share some of this information tonight. I look forward to hearing additional public testimony, and I'm happy to provide additional information and respond to questions as appropriate. Thank you.
Okay. And I have a site plan that shows the location of the fence, and I believe there's 10 feet of landscaping on the north and east sides of the proposal. Do you know roughly about how many employees? Is that hard to say at this point?
Well, we know that we will have a property manager and 2 maintenance staff, so that will be 3 property management employees. On the service side of things, we have a minimum of a 1 to 15 case management ratio, so that means you would have 3 employees that are specific case managers. In most cases, we have an additional employee there who is a duly licensed behavioral health and substance abuse counselor. We will be providing those services on site, but that may not be a permanent employee because normally those individuals serve multiple buildings.
Okay, so they would visit the site, stay there to do whatever the assigned task is, and then go visit the other facilities that they work with. Okay.
We also anticipate having safety and security on site. We don't have a specific plan for how we're going to deliver that. In some cases, as in Spokane, those are employees of Catholic Charities. I think that the scalability of that model here in Pasco may not be feasible, so we would likely contract that service out.
Okay. I think those are my questions for right now.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. So at this point, we'll open this up for public comment, unless there was any questions right now. Okay, we'll go ahead and open this for public comment. I think, is there a procedural question from the back?
No, just make a comment.
Oh, yeah, not quite yet. Just hold on 1 second. So I think what I'm going to do for efficiency purposes is just do a group swearing in rather than swear each of you in as you come up to the podium. So all of you who are going to offer testimony tonight, if you could raise your right hand, and I'm going to ask this question, and please answer in the affirmative that you will be affirmed to tell the truth tonight. Do you swear or affirm that you will tell the truth tonight under penalty of perjury and the laws of the state of Washington? Okay. Is there anyone here who does not affirm that they will be speaking the truth? All right. Let the record reflect that everyone. Let the record reflect that everyone who is here will be telling me the truth. So I think what we'll do is we'll just go through in terms of where I don't think we have a sign-up sheet, correct? Okay. I'm not going to set a formal time limit. If you can be efficient in your comments, that will be helpful. But I imagine usually here in Pasco, folks have been pretty respectful of everyone's time. So I'm not going to set formal time limits. But if it goes on too long, then I may need to cut you off. And if we need to keep the record open to make sure all the comments that people have come in, we can do that as well. So who first would like to testify? Yes. And I should add, if you could state your name for the record, and I may need you to spell it so I have the correct spelling on that.
My name is Gabrielle Porter. Last name is Portugal, Portugal. I'm the current chair for the Downtown Pasco Development Authority. And as you heard, we were mentioned in the report. And so what I wanted to share is something really brief. The first thing is obviously that the homeless deserve a place with dignity, and we agree with that. And sometimes when we look at other areas that affect that, it may sound like we lack the empathy for that, but I hope that's not the case, because we do agree the homeless need a place where they can go, and especially the chronic homeless. So this is what's going on in our downtown. We have some businesses that are sharing with us, with the downtown Pasco DPDA. They're concerned about this place. And for those that know the history of Pasco from 80s and 90s, and I've been here that long, we had a share of a problem with drugs, with crime, prostitution, you name it. Pasco was known for lots of those things. We've done a lot of changes. We have, since I've been here, 4 different police chiefs, which we sit with to share our ideas on how to reduce crime. So our businesses here are trying to survive. We currently have a mission that has homeless, and some of them are in the area in downtown, and create an issue for some of our businesses. And the DPDA has an agreement with the city of Pasco to revitalize, to somehow support the businesses so they can actually succeed. And so we had lots of empty buildings in the past, and for now we're barely surviving with the amount of homeless folks that we have and the issues that they bring up to the downtown. And the business folks that I've talked to, the majority are saying that this would create more of a burden on them, and surviving will be, and some of them are saying, it's time for me to relocate. If this is happening, we are going to relocate. So as you can see, that as the DPDA chair, I am concerned about those comments. And, I ask that, that you consider the fact of the history of Pasco, the fact that we have homeless, and the fact that we have a lot of needs as far as business folks trying to survive. And again, the homeless question continues, and I know it's going to be forever with us, but we're hoping that they find a different location that is not Pasco, and that the business folks can survive, because we're trying to survive, and this will make it real difficult for them. I don't tell the city, the businesses, we're going to go against this or for this, but we are going to raise our concerns that we have about what this will mean to the businesses downtown, and then you can tell it would add on to the stress that we already have. So we hope that they can find a different place, but I know you have to make your decision, and like you said, you will, and then we'll have to live with it. But just bear in mind that the businesses in downtown Pasco are highly concerned. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Yes, go ahead. Good evening. If you could state your name for the record.
Joseph Williams. So I have a couple of questions and concerns on this. I guess first is why this location? Logistically, this makes 0 sense. There are no services within 2 to 3 miles of this location as far as food, any kind of grocery store, any kind of health services. Also, this is on a truck route. We have heavy machinery rolling through there every day. There's a lot of farm equipment move through there, and it can be kind of dangerous. So if they're saying that they want, everybody to be safe here in this place, it's not really. Got a lot of traffic moving through there. We got new families coming in, moving in. Actually, if you look at the plot.
If you could use
right here.
Use the mouse, because they we've got this. They videotape the proceeding, and if you point, the videotape doesn't capture.
It's right in this area.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, right here. That's my house. I don't really want to look at a 5-story building from my bedroom window. We have 4 children in our house, 4 years old up to 17. And I'm not exactly thrilled about having sex offenders and homeless people on the other side of the street. Also with Pasco's rules on fences only being 6 feet, that doesn't leave us much protection. I really don't want to have to put concertina wire up around our house, keep people out of it. Again, there's not even sidewalks. How are people going to get in and out of there? This doesn't seem like this is a good spot. I mean, they're going to have a view of a junkyard in my back window. And the forum that, I'm sorry, what was your name? Jonathan. Mentioned, you said was last week?
If you could, you can direct your questions or direct your comment to me,
So
and then
the forum was last week?
I'm sorry?
The forum was last week, I believe they were.
I'll have the
planning
applicant
something?
clarify. He did mention that when the forum was,
Okay.
but I'll have the applicant address that.
Right, and he did mention about being good neighbors and letting everybody know. I got nothing.
No, no,
I didn't hear about any of this. The only time I heard about any of this project is when I received this letter in the mail alerting us. And this was dated when? A couple weeks ago?
This is
2 weeks?
This is the notice for tonight's hearing that you're
Yeah.
referring to.
Yeah, so 2 weeks ago I found out about this, and I see there's already been permits and all kinds of studies done on this, and this is the first I heard about this. So this doesn't seem like it was well planned. It seems like it's being pushed through to try to approve it. And I just wanted to say that I oppose this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person? Yeah, go ahead and step forward. Good evening.
Hi, my name is Carol Moser,
Can you spell your-
M-O-S-E-R.
Thank you.
I'm the Executive Director of Greater Columbia Accountable Community of Health, which has been contracted by the Healthcare Authority to improve the health of a 9-county region, including the Yakima Nation. And Benton and Franklin counties are part of that region, so Greater Columbia is investing considerable resources to address the health of our bi-county area. Health is dependent on many factors, including genetics, access to care, and behaviors. It's most influenced, however, by the social determinants of health. The social determinants of health are those conditions that a person is born into, such as housing, poverty, domestic violence, abuse, and neglect. Tonight, we're talking about housing and the opportunity to impact the lives of the most fragile individuals in our communities. According to Maslow's hierarchy of need, housing is a foundational need in order for humans to survive. Homelessness is growing in the Tri-Cities, a fact that was reported recently in the Tri-City Herald. And the Tri-Cities also lacks low-income housing, which was also recently reported in the Tri-City Herald. In fact, the median price of a Tri-City home jumped above $300,000 in 2019, with the average price of the houses sold at $323,000. Homelessness is a complicated subject and impacts businesses, city services like emergency services, and police, hospitals, and social services. And while the proposed permanent supportive housing project is not the only answer to homelessness in the Tri-Cities, it is an answer to address those who are the most ill, the most at risk, and those who utilize a disproportionate amount of services in our communities. Greater Columbia supports the special use permit for Catholic Charities, but also supports mitigating the impacts to downtown business owners and policies and investments that promote economic development in the downtown. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, go ahead. Good evening.
My name is Leo Morales, M-O-R, alias. I own a business on downtown
Can you
Pasco.
spell your last name?
Morales, M-O-R, alias.
Thank you.
I own a business in downtown Pasco, and I deal with this every day. These kind of people, they do need help. I understand that. And the city of Pasco, believe me, that's a lot for it, because my business is right in the corner of the Mission. And when the Mission opened, everybody said, it's going to change, it's going to change. It hasn't changed. It got worse. I got homeless over my business all the time. And I don't know, nobody has mentioned that the flea market is on to walking distance with these people, which a lot of family and kids goes every weekend on the summer. Starting like May, they open the flea market. There's hundreds of people who go there. And these people have no car, have no way to move. I know the area very well. There's no way you can move around without a car. I mean, it would be easy for them to just walk to the mission, to the flea market, and deal with the most vulnerable people. It's like kids and women, though. I deal with these people every day. They're not easy, though. They're really hostile. Like, in my business, women don't want to stay alone. They have to be a man all the time because these people walk into it, and they are really hostile, though. And the mission, they take care of them while they are in the mission. But every day at 8 o'clock in the morning, they kick them out, and we are the ones who deal with them, and it's not easy, though. It is, like my wife is scared. She doesn't even deal with these people. And they do, I understand they do need help, though. But I mean, I don't think this is the right place. There is no bus around there, period. Like that guy was saying, there is big trucks everywhere, and in the summer, there is a lot of traffic. I don't know if you know the area. There is two stop signs that in the summer, they make it a 4-stop sign because the traffic is so much, and it goes right in front of this building. So to me, it would be easy for them, if they want to ask for money for food, it would be easy for them to just walk to the flea market. It's about less than half a mile in it. Then going to work. They're going to have to go to, I don't even know what's the nearest supermarket. I guess it's like Fiesta Food, about 5 miles away. And there is no bus. I guess he was mentioning about giving these people the way to get to the grocery and stuff like that. But what? Are they going to put a bus 24 hours a day? Anytime those people want to go and buy grocery or they get hungry. And I'm very concerned about the flea market, though. There is not a million, but hundreds of families with little kids that go to a flea market. And like I said, I am in the town Pasco. I have a little kid, and these people do need help, but they don't respect anyone, though. They do not respect anyone. They do not respect private property. They do not respect anything. Like, we try to avoid them using the restaurant. Sometimes it's impossible. They just walk in, and I mean, like I said, they do need help. I understand that part. But I believe this part of Pasco does enough for homeless already, though. We have the mission, and we deal with a lot. Then they're going to come out and bring something else, 52 apartments. So what is it, one-person apartment, two-person apartment, so that's 100 people walking around? I don't know. That's my concern, though. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
My name is Dallas Barnes. I'm a property owner in the area.
Could you spell your last name? Barnes, you said?
Barnes.
Thank you.
And I've been around a long time. I'm certainly a strong supporter of those who are providing services to the most vulnerable in the community, the homeless and the mentally ill and all of that. And I think those who are here who are familiar with my work there can testify to that. In this situation, my work goes back to the 50s when we had an East Pasco Improvement Association, when we had some real problems resulting from the Hanford area where East Pasco was designated the place for minorities to live when the rest of the Tri-Cities was available to non-minority people. And as we fast forward, not only with the East Pasco Improvement Association at that particular time back in the 50s and early 60s, we fast forward that to the urban renewal area where we cleaned out a lot of the low-income housing. Well, really it was dilapidated housing. I had the honor of working for the city of Pasco during that time, and it was my role to help do that. I mentioned all of that to say that I know from all of that experience that East Pasco has been designated as the place for, quote, some of the undesirables to be located in the Tri-Cities, way back in the Hanford area, and this is symbolic or is evidence of a continuation of that way of thinking. If we're talking about the services between Lewis Street, is really Clark Street, and A Street, we'll see that we do have the mission. We have our hotels that are problematic because they provide low housing for this particular community, and they're having all kinds of problems, and I'm aware of those. and they've been here and testified to that effect here in the council chamber. And what we have here, and I just learned of this last night on the news and made it over to City Hall this morning to find out that this meeting was going on, so I didn't come with a prepared speech. But I do want to say that East Pasco, for many, many years, have been targeted as the place where we want to relocate the people in our community with challenges, whether those challenges be homelessness, mental illness, low-income housing, and I think East Pasco has been very accommodating to that with housing for Habitat for Humanity and so forth and so on. But like the last gentleman said, this particular location here again seemed to be in an odd place. I know that there's development and services out on Road 68 and a lot of property out there, you know, which would make it easier for these people to get to those services. But it's East Pasco. And as a property owner in there, I know that there's been many times that people want to put halfway houses over there. They want to buy property for me to do that, home for the mentally ill. And I also know that we have social service agencies that come and buy property up there for that purpose. And I think to add this in addition would be something that you may want to reconsider and at least have an opportunity to have more input. My input is based upon less than 12 hours worth of information. And I would like to have an opportunity to provide a little bit more so that I can be a little bit more informed as to what needs to be said or whatever input that I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Brian Ketchum. It's Ketcham.
Thank you.
And I'm the director for Catholic Charities Housing Services, serving Central Washington, so a counterpart for Catholic Charities in Eastern Washington. We work in 7 counties in Central Washington, including Benton County. So we work in Richland and Kennewick and Prosser. And I wanted to come and share my support for this proposal and just to provide just a few additional comments. I certainly understand the concerns around the siting and location. That's true in any community that we've worked in throughout Central Washington. It's always been our experience that the challenge of finding a site that is appropriate, well located, you know, a mix between access to services, proximity to schools, businesses and appropriately zoned is incredibly challenging to do, and also vacant, available to buy. I think that it's always very difficult when you're serving individuals and families experiencing homelessness, living in crisis, that it does present some unique challenges. And I think the key element to that, and a key tradition or legacy for Catholic Charities serving Eastern Washington, they have more than 9 of these developments that they've successfully operated for over 10 years, is that you have strong management of the site, you have a strong presence, that you're a good community partner that's responsive to neighbors' needs, to business needs, that when you're working with this population, things will happen. And in any sort of, we have 900 rental units, so we see a wide variety of situations that happen within those. But the key element is you can't control people's behaviors, but you can control your response to those behaviors. And having a strong community partner that listens, that's going to address those needs and balance the needs of the residents with those needs of the community, I think is a key element to being successful in beginning to address those issues of homelessness in the community. And also just to share that we work in Benton County, as I mentioned before. We continue to look for properties that would might be available, zoned appropriately, that would also serve individuals and families experiencing homelessness. We're just about to open a property. It'll be our first permanent supportive housing development up in Wenatchee that opens its doors on Monday. And so we are looking for other opportunities to meet that broader Tri-Cities need. So it's not just Pasco, but certainly this is the first community where they have a proposal that's ready to go. And also just to note that to assemble the financing for these developments is very difficult. It's a high priority for the state. It's a high priority for these local communities, and requires a tremendous amount of partnerships with social service organizations, behavioral health, healthcare, broader service groups that have all kind of coalesced around this particular development as a first step to addressing those needs in the community. So, thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
My name is Sina Parrott. I'll spell that for you.
Thank you.
It's S-I-N-A. Last name is P as in Paul, I-E-R-R-E-T. I'm a board member of St. Vincent Food Bank and Community Services, and we have had a presence in downtown Pasco for 50 years. And so many of the people, I understand the concerns. Many of the people that our business owners in downtown Pasco are encountering, we see them every week at the food bank. And we can give them food that will last them for several days. We can give them clean clothing, change of socks, underwear, whatever. But we are only doing a little bit. And so when I heard about this program, we were thrilled because this is what the people need. They need additional help. We're only doing a little bit, but we are very much in support of this building and seeing that many of the people that are homeless in Pasco, they will have the opportunity to have improved integrity and receive the care that they need. We can give Catholic Charities a list of at least 40 names already for that facility that we deal with on a weekly basis. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Good evening.
Hello, good evening. I was going to say that I will give you my name. I just want to say we're assuming that these people want to be housed. Anyway, my name is, it's long, Gustavo Gutierrez Gomez. If you want me to spell it.
Yeah, if you could, that would.
There you go. And that's what I said this morning. That's my joke. I should have changed my name. Gustavo Gutierrez Gomez. So I am the executive director for the DPDA, the Downtown Pasco Development Authority. And we have a kitchen that is an industrial kitchen, and we have 45 clients. Today we had a meeting, and from those 45 clients, we have 24 that are active right now in the winter, and they are concerned already with the people who are just wandering around in the downtown area. I'm not saying they don't need help. They probably do. However, what is telling me, and that's just me, my perspective of what I've seen, then those are actually the people who are being, I mean, how are you going to house people who don't want to be housed? Because the mission is right there. I think the people that wander around, they probably just want to wander around. Because it's the same, you see them every day, you see them. You know, the interesting piece is a lot of the business owners, specifically the females that they own, because I also deal, you know, we have the Main Street program, so I do work with the business owners in downtown, and a lot of them are females, and they own these stores, and they have had some encounters with some homeless people that they are mentally ill, and they have had, for what they share with me, some of the business owners, they have had been scared. The people have stolen some goods, you know, and then they have people who threatened them before, either knives or guns or whatever. And a lot of these people still, they're the minority. They're Latinos or they're immigrants, so they don't use the police. I mean, I wish they can call the police, but a lot of times they deal things on their own. You know, they might call the brother-in-law, and they say this is happening, that they come and whatever happens in there just happens in there. Nobody will ever know. But they have told me that there's been a challenge. And I can tell you sometimes I just come in the morning in the office and it smells pee, poop. I mean, it's sad but the mission is right there. And I think they do need, you know, space. But I wonder if a space, and I live, even though, look, I just moved here 2 months ago. Even myself not knowing the area, I end up in West Pasco. You know, I liked it over there just because I saw that opportunity. I saw some apartments here, $300 difference. I went up there. I didn't even know about the homeless situation. But I'm over there and I can tell you all the services are in 86. Like there's so many things out there and it will look, the building is beautiful. It will look much better in one of those areas. And if they have all the you know, supporting programs and they have, it should not be any issue where do they put it. But, you know, my perspective working in housing in the past, maybe they just want this area, might not be the best, but demographically speaking, it might serve better. I'm not sure. But I can tell you for experience, many business owners are not here. So, and I'm just speaking for them because they probably won't be here. But they have told me, at least half of them, that they're against it. You know, there's like 40% that they, you know, they don't see it as an issue, but there's 60% that they do. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Steve Oradnik, and that's O-U-R-A-D-N-I-K. Well, I thank you for an opportunity to speak today, and I stopped in just to see what was going on about this. And I probably have, so far, what I've heard, the most experience of anybody in the room. 11 years ago, I had a 92 Aerostar van, everything I fit in the back because I suffered from alcoholism. Today, I have a master's degree in addiction counseling, another one in professional counseling, and operate 3 clean and sober recovery houses, one of which is over in Kennewick, 2 of which are in Yakima. I understand the common concept of taking a look at what's going on in the gospel mission and applying it to this project, and that's apples and oranges, I can tell you that right now. I'd like to remind people that the gentleman said there would be case managers. Today in Kennewick, I deal with Lords and with comprehensive mental health. And their case managers make sure they get them to the store to buy groceries. They do budgeting for them. These are people that can, when treated properly, if treatable, and we don't know whether they are or not, can become useful, productive citizens of society. But we have to get them out of where they're at and get them to where we can find them. One of the issues in treatment is finding people who are homeless. One of the things that we have found that's become the thing on the East Coast is instead of worrying about treatment first, they are now worrying about housing first. And they are finding huge increases in success rate when we get these people located in safe housing. Whether they want to or not, some of them, they don't know whether they want to or not because they know no other life. What was at one time in their life unacceptable, today has become the norm for them. And they can't visualize what a life would be where they have a roof over their head, where they have clothes on their back, multiple sets of clothes to choose from. When you talk about people wandering the streets around the gospel mission, I'd like to remind you, they're kicked out of there. Where are they going to go? These people will have apartments to live in, so they won't be wandering around the streets. As far as offending people, I think you're over-concerned, but as a father of 4, a grandfather of 15 now, having 20 years as an adult Boy Scout leader, I understand those concerns. I think they're blown out of proportion based on my experience because since in the last 11 years, I spent all but 11 months living in a clean and sober house. This is a great project. Is it in the right spot? I don't know. How was it picked? I don't know. I can tell you, though, the concept needs to be done. I'm Steve Owen. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
My name is Sarah Williams. It's S-A-R-A. I just wanted to comment the man that's commented on being part of the Catholic Church, whatever, in Yakima and Wenatchee, said that things will happen. Well, I don't want things to happen ever to my children. And we live on the other side of that fence. As a mother, I can't let things happen to my children. So there's no way that I would have ever lived in a place that put my children at higher risk of anything happening to them.
given that this place goes in, I will move from Pasco. And I am not alone in this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone? Yes.
I'm Janice Hastings, Hastings, and I was here testifying in December, and I will just make this very brief. Thank you for the opportunity tonight. I, too, am a downtown business owner. My family has had a business starting in 1947 in the same location, downtown Pasco. I have been to one meeting that was kind of a last minute. The meeting last week we weren't informed of. So they may have gone down and talked to some Pasco business owners, but there's, we didn't have any awareness of it at all. The reason I'm talking to you tonight is Catholic Charities wants to house the homeless in Pasco. And this was an article that was in the Tri-City Area Business Journal. There's a couple of highlighted spots, is that they could fill 3 of these buildings, but they don't have the financing yet. So the 52 beds they're talking about now, I think, is just a gateway to another 100 at least, if they can get their financing in order. I don't know that we need another 150 spots. I know that the homeless do need some help if they choose it. I know the city of Pasco, the police department gives out these cards to anyone who they speak with. It has all of the services that are available to them already in our community. This is a remarkable community, and I think sometimes people forget how generous and what a special place this really is. I think as a community we do a really good job, not that we couldn't do better. But there's all kinds of things that we're already paying for as taxpayers to help people who actually need help if they take the opportunity to actually use the help. I've heard people say here tonight that there are those that don't want to be in a home. I understand that. That's their right. They're an American citizen, and you don't have to live in a dwelling if you don't choose to. And because of our safety nets, you don't have to have a job either. And the people that want help, there are opportunities there. It's not like we're all shutting the doors on them. It is difficult to be a downtown Pasco business owner. And I don't mean any insult, but sometimes I think some of the city employees or the people that represent us with the city don't do as good a job as they should in touting what a unique, outstanding place this town really is, from the history to what goes on day to day. Sometimes we have a bad reputation that I don't think any of us would think we deserved. The crime in Pasco is less than any of the other Tri-Cities, but still nobody wants to come downtown Pasco. It's a scary place. Well, it's not. But I think if we become a magnet for individuals who don't want to or don't have a home or like living the lifestyle they have, it isn't going to get any better. And I think the cash cow will leave, because why should any of us stay if we have to come to work with broken windows and graffiti and the homeless population that just keeps growing because there might be an opportunity for another 100 beds. I appreciate the time, and thank you very much. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Did you want to add either of those documents to the record?
I would like to, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of these things I don't think people are really aware of, but the city police department.
If you could go back to the microphone, just to make sure we capture.
These little cards, our police officers hand out. It's got a map on the back of where individuals who want to camp overnight outside can and where they cannot. And then on the front side, it has a listing of all of the services that are available for homeless individuals should they choose to partake and use them. There's also I think the secondhand store on 20th by Umpqua Bank hands these out because he gets a lot of homeless individuals in his store also. He said he used to have a bunch of sticky notes on the back behind his counter. Now he has these because it's so easy, it's clean, it's easy, it's small. They can put it in a pocket or a little bag. And when they choose that they decide they want help, they've had enough, or they want to change their life, all of that information is right there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Hi.
Good evening.
Mecca Rangans.
Can you spell that?
Right, last name Rheingans. And I just want to clarify that I have heard that there's a lot of transportation issues that have come up, and that the connection to services and the location of why the spot was chosen. So I just want to make clear, as I understand it from the transit map for your public systems, there is a bus route 65 right here on Heritage. There is a bus stop, I believe, right here on the corner of Helena, so within walking distance of the building. So on the on-site services and any connection of services who can take any cars from the residents or personnel during daytimes, but also after business hours on the bus route, they have access to any services that the city of Pasco does already provide and is planning to provide as well.
Thank you. I believe a bus stop is planned for the front of the facility, but I'll have the applicant clarify that.
Great, thank you.
Anyone else? Yes.
Hi, my name is Russell Glad. I live at 5 Sunflower Court here in Pasco.
Could you spell your last name?
Yeah, Glatt, and I testified approximately a month ago on your list.
Okay,
for
so
names that
you
read earlier.
should be in the transcript then.
And I'd like to say a few things about this project. First of all, I'm in disagreement with this project. The city of Pasco has already extended itself with the Union Gospel Mission that was built just recently, a year ago. And then they also approved for the St. Vincent de Paul, which both services provide good services. The situation we're having in downtown Pasco is from individuals who don't follow the rules of the Union Gospel Mission. And the big question I have is why does Catholic Charities think that if they don't follow the Union Gospel Mission rules, why would they follow their rules? And that's a big problem I have with their business plan. The other issue I have is I also attend their meeting here on Monday, and I appreciate their presentation. I appreciate that they were listening to a lot of our comments, but their goal is to serve everybody. And why should the city of Pasco put themselves out there to serve everybody around the surrounding communities? Our citizens of Pasco already pay additional costs for police, fire costs, lots of business in downtown, and I just see really what we're doing is we are a magnet, and we're becoming a social service magnet. We need to be attracting businesses to Pasco. And the city of Kennewick, they have Southridge development, they have development out at the airport to bring businesses in. The problem with the city of Pasco is we're focusing too much on bringing social services to Pasco area. And a few people asked today, why over here in East Pasco? The reason is because the path of least resistance. Okay, I live out in West Pasco. I know they want to put it in my neighborhood because everybody would be standing up. They figure, hey, they can take advantage of the people in East Pasco, and I really have a problem with that. And the Catholic Charities talks about people's dignity, and I want to focus on the dignity of the city of Pasco citizens first. Thank you.
Thank you. And wait, one clarification. On the transcript, it says, is Glatt, was it with a G though or a B, your last name?
Glatt.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah.
Buenas noches. My name's Rolando Rodriguez. I think you said it's Orlando, but it's Rolando. It's ROLANDO, RODRIGUEZ.
You testified at the last hearing.
Outstanding. Thank you for. Good afternoon. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I'm here to speak against granting permission, the special permission request. As everybody's already indicated, that is a poor location for a lot of reasons. Also, it almost looks like economic racism. Why we put it in East Pasco again? Dr. Barnes did a great job in giving the history of what East Pasco has done, and we'll continue to do that. Like Russell Glad stated, if it was put in my neighborhood, because I live in West Pasco, everybody would stand up in arms saying, we don't want this here. So we can go on that. But what I want to talk about today is why this shouldn't. One of the reasons is because we do have what we call our comprehensive plan. That's what we should be gazing at. What are we trying to do for 20 years down the road for Pasco? Just alone on the housing elements and the goals that we support diversifying the special needs of housing throughout our community, why are we putting it all in East Pasco? We should be going all over Pasco, west, north, south. So we're just putting all of the special needs in downtown or East Pasco. So we're not following that goal. Also, support and advancement programs that encourage home ownership. The young woman just told you she would be leaving. She'd be getting her home. The father came told he had concerns that that's the property he would be looking right over. They're concerned citizens. If the ones that are residing right now in Pasco and paying property taxes are telling you they want to leave, including some of the business owners, how are we doing? What are we doing to encourage more home ownership and businesses coming? Which leads to the second part, economic development. We have to provide a governmental atmosphere which is conducive to development and expansion of business opportunities. The business owners just told you that they're not in favor of this. I own a business. I own a business in downtown Pasco for 10 years. I have a 6,500 square facility because I came to downtown Pasco to help improve it. This could be just be the last nail in the coffin. My wife and I had discussions of looking elsewhere. Just leave. Why? The city isn't supporting us. What are you guys doing to help us? I understand we have a problem with homelessness. It's a national disgrace. We're the top country in the world, and we have people living under bridges. But it's due to a lot of factors that are outside our control, and we need to look at that. Continue efforts to attract and recruit new employees to the community. Now, how am I going to recruit my new employees if I already have another magnet that's going to bring in more homeless? I spoke against the Ian Gospel Mission, that super mission. Now I'm dealing with those individuals every day in my doorstep, every day. How am I going to, I sit on the DPDA board. We're trying to recruit businesses. How are we going to recruit more businesses if this is what we're going against? So this goes against our plan here. And last, again, we got to promote Pasco's urban areas as a good business environment and by enhancing the infrastructure of our community. This goes against what we want to do. Our comprehensive plan went out the door. So that, based on that alone, this is not good for business, it's not good for homeowners, it's not the best use of this property. We should be looking for businesses. If we really want to address issues of housing, we should be focusing on affordable housing for families. Why? Because those families have kids in the school systems. And those kids mean federal and state dollars for the schools and the city of Pasco. Those people that live in them are workers, labor for our businesses. So we can have a viable economic force here. So we can have permanent employees where a lot of our agricultural employers don't have to rely on H-2A workers that are extremely expensive. This is not the best use of our resources, our very valuable resources, which is property in Pasco. It should be stayed the same. And although I agree that we need to address some of this issues of homelessness, this is not the correct time or place, and further analysis needs to be done on this project. So I encourage you to deny the permit. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Anyone else? See there. Oh. Looks like the woman in the back is cheating, or not. She said you could go first.
My name is Heidi Cryer, Heidicriyer.
Can you spell that one more time? There was just some noise in the back. So
Heidicriyer.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would urge you to approve the permanent supportive housing Pasco Haven. I speak to you because my faith leads me to be concerned about our sisters and brothers affected by homelessness. I am also not naive, and I understand that homelessness is a vastly complex issue. I think the benefit of this project is that it helps those who are most vulnerable while still striving to be a good neighbor. I have seen the Catholic Charities projects in Spokane. I have volunteered several times for one of the agencies that is in Spokane that is connected with Catholic Charities and that works with those affected by homelessness. The atmosphere is vastly different than other places that I have volunteered in. It's safe for all. They work through trauma-informed care. It's not just putting Band-Aids, it's solving problems. And it's safe for the little old church ladies that are volunteering, as well as the vulnerable who are being served. I think it's hugely important that our business owners and the neighbors have the opportunity to be heard. But I also hope that they are able to see how different the projects that are already in place, that this is mirrored after in Spokane, are, and how much different this project will be wherever it ends up here in Pasco. I do hope that this project proceeds. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to go now? Yeah. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Flora Magana, Magana, and I'm very nervous, so just bear with me and I'll get to what I want to say. I do understand what they want to build. I understand that people on the street, they do need a place to live, but I want to let you know that right here, all this place, which I'm talking about all my neighbors on behalf of them, because I talked to various of them, and they are, most of them are Hispanic, and they don't even know what's going on. They don't understand what's going on. But all this right here, where I pointed it out, are new builds. We just barely built, all these people right here, we just barely built our homes. We have been living in them probably like for 2 years, going to 3.
That's that whole neighborhood that you're pointing to with the mouse.
Yes, all that round right there. We barely built our homes right there. And I'm sorry to say, if I would have known they were going to build this there, I would not have built my home there. And a lot of people feel the same way. And it's regarding our safety. This 4-story place is going to be looking into my house, into my yard, where all my grandkids, my kids are playing. Can you assure me that these are mental people, these are sex offenders, that what is it going to cost them just to jump the fence? Nothing. They could jump it like nothing. And am I going to be safe to let my kids and my grandchildren play in my backyard? No, not anymore if that's right there. Because you guys can't sustain those people and be on them 24/7. They're going to go out and do whatever they want to do. And when they're on drugs, Sometimes they don't even know what they're doing themselves. They could just jump the fence like nothing. So what am I going to do? Who's going to help me when one of these people jumps the fence and tries to do something? Or when they're all the way up there on all those stories and they're looking inside my home. They're going to be there 24/7. And it's not one person or two, it's a lot of people. And I understand what they're saying. I understand that they want to build it, they want to help more people. But we already have a homeless place right here, just down the street. Down further, we already have one. So why not build this somewhere else? Plus,
which is the homeless place you're referring to?
It's the Mission.
Oh, right.
Okay. And also, I really don't go down there because they're always out in the street. They're always asking you for money. You're always afraid to go down there to those little shops because they're always everywhere. They don't stay inside the Mission. So what guarantees us that these people are always going to be inside this place? You want to say something? Go ahead.
If you're done, then you can go next if you wish.
Yeah, I think that's all I want to say. I wish that I understand, and I do agree with what they're doing, but I wish that they would build it somewhere else, especially because it's not fair to us that we just barely build our new homes there. And plus, I never knew anything about this. What the other man said, that we just got the letter, that's the only letter we got. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having patience.
Good evening. If you could state your name for the record.
My name is Michael Magana. I don't have much to say, but I would like to say that I do believe this is really unfair to us, because we don't have a lot, and this house means a lot to us because and after this is built, I'm just going to have this looming tower of fear. I'm going to be looking at this for years until I leave Pasco. And how am I going to feel knowing that my parents are going to be living there? And my mom is a very nervous woman, as I am as well. She would not be able to handle somebody breaking into her home. My parents are getting old, and I don't want to have that feeling. No offense, Mom, I'm sorry. But my parents are, it's natural. They're older, they're getting more, fragile.
I don't know, they may or may not agree with you, but you can.
But they're not going to be able to handle it to the point where their kids aren't going to be there to protect them, as well as my nieces and nephews, as my mother said. I don't want to leave if that's the case. And I don't want to be tied down here knowing that that it's just a constant danger. And it's also unfair that correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't even know if these people even live in East Pasco and they're going to be suffering the repercussions of putting that there, that we are. Because we live right across the road from that. And I just don't believe it's fair and very neighborly, as they say. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Let the record reflect that there is not anyone else who wishes to provide testimony this evening. So at this point, we'll turn this back to the applicant to address the concerns that were raised. There were a variety of concerns, and you heard them, but addressing security, location, maybe if you can clarify on the bus stop, I saw that in the record. Maybe touch base on the housing first idea. It seemed like the big overarching issue is kind of a compatibility one in this particular location. I don't know if you need a few minutes to collect your thoughts or if you went to...
No, I've been listening intently and taking some notes, so I hope to address the concerns that have been raised tonight.
Okay.
I first want to just acknowledge that I hear the fear and the uncertainty, and that certainly is understandable. I also don't think that it is supported in the facts of serving a population that has mental illness and has experienced chronic homelessness. I would also call out that the existing zoning does not prohibit someone from moving into this neighborhood with that background, with a criminal record. I think there are other mitigating factors here, and that is that this is a federally subsidized building, and as such, level 3 permanently registered sex offenders are not going to be housed in this building. We do have a tenant screening process that evaluates risk factors related to behaviors. And as my colleague from Yakima said, things will happen, and that is true. Should not be interpreted to mean that violence will happen or that crimes will occur against neighbors. That is not our experience in the many housing projects that we have. We have processes in place to manage behavior. It recognize we don't control behaviors all the time. Those include our on-site staff who are trained in trauma-informed care. Those include the fact that we have peer supports on site. I heard a lot of folks call out that a common refrain we hear from people experiencing homelessness is, "This is the lifestyle that I choose." And our experience is that that is a defensive mechanism that is born from the many years of isolation and broken relationships and trust that those individuals have with the people in their lives. So our program is actually designed to have people who have experienced homelessness and moved through that experience successfully on site. And they help us build those trusting relationships with residents. And that's why Catholic Charities' success rate is so high. Over 93% of the people who move into our buildings are still in permanent supportive housing 2 years later. And that is an unprecedented number. It's different than other forms of housing. I would just draw a strong distinction between emergency shelter services provided by the Union Gospel Mission and permanent supportive housing. We will not be serving people who do not live within the building, so we will not have people traveling to this building to receive services. We will serve the 50 residents that live there. It is a characteristic of the chronic homeless population that they don't have a lot of meaningful or long-lasting relationships in their lives. So in our buildings, we often see that singles live in the units. It is true that in a studio or a one-bedroom unit, you can have a couple. Most often, they're singles. In our buildings, we average 53 residents in our 50-unit buildings. So I would imagine this being a 52-unit building with one common unit, that we would have 53 to 55 residents in the building. The project did receive a $2 million award from the Housing Trust Fund. That's a state program. As part of that application, the state evaluates the appropriateness of the site in serving the population. We cited in our application to the state that this was close to a bus stop, that we are providing transportation to nearby grocery stores and other services. And further, we are providing the health care, the counseling, and the case management on site. So you don't have a lot of traffic to and from this property because people are being treated and provided with activities on site that really keep them there. In fact, one of our largest problems is that people tend to isolate when they've experienced chronic homelessness. So we have deliberate efforts to draw them out of their unit, bring them into community spaces through cooking classes and entertainment and other opportunities so that we can engage with them and help them become well.
Okay, it said at the staff report, a turn pocket bus stop and bus shelter shall be installed along the front property line of the site. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
This will, I hear the feedback from the downtown Pasco that business owners that they currently struggle with transient populations and people who are experiencing mental health, and those behaviors are challenging for businesses. This building is a mitigation for that impact on downtown. Those are the individuals that we specialize in treating. And in fact, in Spokane, we've seen a 26% reduction in chronic homelessness since we started opening these buildings. So a 26% reduction combined with a 93% success rate indicates that people who are currently homeless in downtown Pasco are no longer going to be in downtown Pasco. They're going to be safely housed. This does reduce calls for emergency services, so in that sense it mitigates the impact of delivering emergency services to this highly vulnerable population. What our data shows is that within the first 12 months of housing in a permanent supportive housing unit, that the acuity of that individual is reduced by 30%. That directly translates into less dangerous behaviors, less calls for emergency services, improved well-being for that individual, as well as stability. We evaluate that acuity based off of an internationally recognized model called the SPDAT test. It is a model that helps us assess need and also challenges, and allows for us to measure our progress in treating those challenges. I hear that some folks did not receive or feel they received notification for our town hall. And we did have people go door to door. I know that they didn't get to touch base with everyone, but flyers were distributed in both English and Spanish. And our commitment to continue working with neighbors will go beyond that effort. So I will reach out to people who testified tonight and make sure that we're sitting down with them on a one-to-one basis, if they'd so like, so that we can help address their needs individually. That's something that we're committed to doing. I believe that another concern that I've heard is really managing the resident activities on site. And there isn't data to suggest that people in this population are more violent than the general population. So I think, although I understand that fear, I don't think it is based in fact. We will have people on site. We all have a Catholic Charities employee living on site in our common unit, so that there will always be someone on site who can respond in an emergency. We will contract for security and safety services for this building, and we also have a 24-hour call number that we provide to all of our residents, and we'd be happy to provide that to the neighbors as well, so that we can provide a rapid response should problems arise. I think I've addressed the three highlights that you called out.
I think so. It's just, there was a reference to housing first approach, which, as I understand it, the idea is that it's difficult. I mean, if you're unhoused, it's difficult to first get services and then get housing. So the idea is to get housing and then provide the services. And it sounds like that's the model that is being utilized here roughly. And I guess I was just curious. I wanted to click on it.
Yeah, this is a housing first harm reduction model. So what we have seen nationally is that this is a best practice that shows higher success rates at a lower cost for communities. So we don't have high restrictions for residents getting into the building, in the sense that some of them are struggling with substance abuse and some of them do have disabilities that can make it challenging for them to maintain or apply for housing. We remove those barriers in this housing, and we mitigate for that by providing that on-site presence with our trained staff that have trauma-informed training, but also other specialties that help us make sure that those individuals are living in a clean, safe environment.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions at this time. No.
Thank you.
Yep. So does the planning department, are there any questions or clarifications, or is there anything else questions that you might have for the applicant?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Yes.
If I could just please add to the record the flyers that were handed out door to door.
Yes, this is admitted. Okay, so I think I mentioned earlier about the possibility of keeping the record open, and kind of given the notice issue and then some number of the comments that were raised, I would like to keep the record open, I think maybe through close of business on Monday. That will give, I think, citizens a little bit more time to become a bit more familiar with the proposal and submit additional comment. And the record, just to clarify, is open to anyone who wishes to submit additional comment, whether they were able to attend tonight's hearing or not. It's also for the applicant to submit any additional comment that the applicant wishes to submit. As I noted earlier, there was that question I had about the kind of the code interpretation. That's one that I am paying particular attention to. And it sounds like there were some questions on this particular kind of location versus others. So if citizens wish to address that, that would be useful. And comments, as I mentioned earlier, should be submitted to the planning department via email. And then I will issue a decision on this probably by Friday. I think the applicant needs a decision on this one way or the other by the 18th. And so a decision will be out by then. If anyone wants a copy of that, please request that from the planning department. Make sure they have your contact information. Email address is probably the easiest way, but yes, if you want to.
I will make my business cards available. They have our website address and my email in case you'd like to email me something directly.
Okay. And then the planning department will forward to me any comments that come in. So I will get those probably on, if records open through 5 p.m. on 5 p.m. Is that usually the office open till 5? Is that, I mean, it is email submittal. So, but the planning department will provide comments to me on Tuesday. Are there any procedural questions from anyone, from whether the public, the applicant, or planning department? Okay. Thank you all for your testimony. I appreciate the input, and we'll take a closer look both at the code and all of the comments that come in. Thank you all. We are is there anything else that we need to address before we adjourn this evening? Okay. We are adjourned. Thank you all.